Hi guys, so in this video we're going to have a look at agriculture and agriculture's relationship with globalisation. As I said before, this links in very well with the higher level food and health unit. As we've seen in the food and health unit, we've got this concept of agribusiness, and that is agriculture at a commercial scale for profit. The other term that is often used is the term agro-industrialization. And that's next step forward, we're actually using industrialized processes to improve and enhance agricultural production. Probably the one that you are familiar with is livestock farming of poultry, fish, and beef. Have a look at this video. We kind of have this impression that our food is grown in fields, animals running around the fields, and that's really not the case. And if majority of our food was grown that way, animals running around the field, it'll be really, really expensive. So let's have a look at the matrix.
Here you go, Leo.
Leo.
Who are you? And how did you know my name?
I am Mufius, and I know a lot about you. Have you heard of the matrix?
The matrix?
Do you want to know what it is?
Okay.
The matrix is all around you. It is the story we tell ourselves about where meat and animal products come from. This family farm is a fantasy. Take the blue pill and stay here in the fantasy. Take the red pill and I'll show you the truth. Welcome to the real world.
Wow! What is this horrible place?
This is a factory farm, Leo. Places like this are where most eggs, milk, and meat come from.
How did this happen?
I'll show you. In the mid-20th century, greedy agriculture corporations began modifying sustainable family farming to maximize their profits at great cost to both humans and animals. Factory farming was born. Animals are packed as closely together as possible. Most never see sunlight, touch ground, or get fresh air. Many can't even turn around. These cruel conditions cause fights and disease amongst the animals. To fix this, the corporate machine began systematic mutilations, practices such as debeaking chickens. And they started adding a constant dosage of antibiotics to their feed just to keep these poor wretches alive. This overuse of antibiotics breeds super strains of resistant disease-causing germs. Every day we get closer to an epidemic that cannot be stopped.
Ew! What's that smell?
12 million pounds of excrement. This pollutes the air and groundwater. That's why communities near factory farms often suffer from high levels of related sicknesses.
Well, it smells like shh.
And what's more, factory farming corporations have been destroying communities and mistreating their workers for decades. Since 1950, over 2 million small hog farms have disappeared. If they continue at this rate, there'll be no real independent family farms left. That is the matrix, Leo. The lie we tell ourselves about where our food comes from. But it's not too late. There is a resistance.
Count me in. So how do we stop them, Mufius?
We are going to spread the word, but it's you, the consumer, who has the real power. Don't support the factory farming machine. There's a world of alternatives.
Okay, so let's unpack that video. So the characteristics of this agro-industrialization process: large scale, lots of machinery, high inputs, lots of processes, increasing IT management system, intensive use of chemicals, intensive use of inputs in general. Now, obviously, you can see that there are ethical issues there if we're keeping animals, and this agro-industrialization process has potentially quite large impacts on the environment. One of the most concerning impacts is actually that of breeding diseases, and we're kind of in a situation where we might be suffering from that now because nobody actually knows where the coronavirus has actually come from. In the past, we have had bird flu, we've had swine flu, pig flu. All of those things have come from the intensive factory farming of animals. So we might be getting ourselves into a horrible little mess at the moment. Again, unpack that video. It's very easy in that video for us to criticize it and say that the factory farming process is really, really bad. But Muthius at the end, where he says, he is absolutely right. It's the consumer that drives these choices. This is an industry and it is a business. If nobody bought that product, then the industry would not exist. So there is a level of responsibility, shall I say, with the consumer. Of course, the problem is that they do present this fantasy of small, independent family farms being sustainable. Well, let's unpack that a little bit. They're not economically sustainable, a lot of these farms, and they require substantial farm subsidies. And that is, again, because we expect to have really cheap meat. If you look at the price of a chicken, it's absolutely ridiculous that a whole animal could be available for maybe 30 Hong Kong dollars. That's absolutely ridiculous. We like our cheap KFC, we like our cheap McDonald's hamburgers, and they're produced in this way. So again, you can criticize these organizations for their cost-cutting ventures, but we as consumers expect and like cheap produce. So there is an element of responsibility in there. We've also got this concept of improving yields. And improving yields does, of course, have an important element to resolving the agricultural imperative, which we looked at in the food and health unit. So in the next video, we'll have a look at improving yields and the environmental impacts of doing that.